Episode 16.4, The Officers of Shadow, Season 4, The Fall of an Empire. Mustafa Kemal Pasha, A Shadow on the Ashes. If you followed the path of shadows this far, hold your breath. Season 4 marks the end of an empire and the rise of a man who built a nation from its ruins. Stay until the end, because where every shadow fades, a new light is born. Prologue, From Ashes to Steel. Welcome to the Officers of Shadow, where from the heart of defeat, a new kind of power is born. Talat, Enver, Jamal, 3 pashas are gone, and the empire has crumbled into dust. But from that very dust, another shadow rose, quieter, sharper, and perhaps far more dangerous. His name was Mustafa Kemal Pasha, an officer who, from the ruins of a broken army, forged a new nation. Scene 1. Dusk in Damascus. Damascus, 1918. The last Ottoman flag is lowered from the fortress walls. Officers pack their uniforms in silence. In the corner stands a man in a khaki coat, his eyes fixed on the dying horizon. He knows the empire is dead, but refuses to believe it's truly over. Mustafa Kemal, reconstructed voice. The empire dies, but the homeland still breathes. It must be reborn. Scene 2. A War Without a Sultan. Anatolia, Samsun, May 1919. The ship Bandurla cuts through the morning fog of the Black Sea. On deck stands Mustafa Kemal Pasha, an officer exiled from Istanbul, carrying within him a plan to save the nation. He arrives in Samsun, on a soil no longer Ottoman, but fertile with the seed of a republic. And thus, the last officer of shadow stepped out from the empire's darkness into the light of a new nation. Scene 3. The War of Independence. Ankara, 1920 to 1922. Snow, hunger, siege. But deep within the Anatolian mountains, a new army is being born. Soldiers no longer fight for the Sultan, but for the homeland. At the Battle of Sakarya, Mustafa Kemal commands, "There is no line of defense, only the land itself to defend, and every inch of it is ours." Cannons roar. Old empires of the 19th century collapse before the will of a newborn nation. Scene 4. The Death of Shadows. Istanbul, 1923. The ancient capital is silent. The Sultan is in exile. The caliphate has ended, and a new flag, crescent and star alone, rises over Hagia Sophia. Mustafa Kemal is no longer a pasha. He is Ataturk, the father of the Turks. Yet, like the 3 pashas before him, he too casts a shadow across history, not of blood, but of power. He buried an empire, yet in that same moment he built another, an empire of thought and discipline. Scene 5. The Last Commander. Ankara, Çankaya Palace, 1938. Ataturk sits on his chair, staring at a map drawn by his own hands. Borders, cities, roads, all in order, except himself. His body is failing, but his mind still commands. Mustafa Kemal, do not die. They just change form. His voice trembles. The curtains close, and in heavy silence, the last officer of shadow falls. End of Season 4. In the absence of shadows. Today, Ankara, Ataturk's mausoleum. In his stone tomb, the footsteps of visitors echo. On the walls, a phrase is engraved: "Peace at home, peace in the world." But in a corner of history, the shadows of Talat, Enver, and Jamal still swirl in the wind, awaiting a new name in a new century. Empires die, but the officers of shadow always return. Empires die, but the officers of shadow always return. Preview of next episode, Borders of Blood. The newborn turkey is breathing, but the shadows do not rest. From Ankara to Damascus, from Mosul to Jerusalem, borders are drawn with English and French rulers, and the blood is not yet dry. In a small office in Ankara, another man looks at the map. Tight lips, cold eyes, and silent loyalty. His name is İsmet İnönü, a pupil and loyal shadow of Ataturk, the man who must preserve order after the death of his master, even if it means commanding silence. A new shadow falls on the map, a shadow born not of war, but of diplomacy and balance. To be continued in episode 16.5, Borders of Blood. Shadows cross Turkey and fall upon the newborn Middle East. If you heard the voices of shadows, do not turn them off. Subscribe to our channel. Join the next season, where shadows are no longer on the streets of Istanbul, but stretch across the map of the 20th century. Next episode, Borders of Blood, İsmet İnönü and the Order After the Ashes.